This is Dads Watching Sports. It's the show by dads who watch sports, for dads who watch sports, or just dads in general. Here are the dads with a plan for every hashtag dad life and sports fan, Kyle Castles and Michael Draper.
Welcome everyone into a newest episode of Dads Watching Sports. I am Michael Draper and he is Kyle Castles, and it is episode 83 of our show. Kyle, it is Sunday, October the 3rd. We're in the month of October. There's a little briskness in the air. It is fall. Midday it's still pretty warm.
Yeah.
But you get that early morning brisk, you get that late night. Man, it's I love it.
Yeah, I mean it's we're getting there. I was having a conversation with somebody. Maybe we'll talk about we'll talk about birthday parties later on in the show. But talking to somebody at the birthday party, and the topic of mowing came up, and it was just like, can we get to the point that we have those 50-degree nights and 70-degree days so that the grass will stop growing and I can quit mowing?
No kidding. No kidding at all. TJ jumps in early. Hello, boys. Congratulations to Mississippi State on beating my Aggies, and congratulations to Kentucky. We will get to that in a few minutes, but welcome, TJ. We've got a lot of college football to catch you up on, and we'll get to that here in just a few minutes. But Kyle, we did not do a show last week.
We didn't. We did not.
You and I discussed this yesterday at the before mentioned birthday party, which we'll get into in just a little bit as well. But no show last week, and I apologize to all the hundreds of thousands of millions of listeners
and millions.
That's right, of our show for that. But Kyle, you know what? On this show, we have talked about your vasectomy. We have talked about deep personal things on this show, and so I thought, to lead this show off, we're just going to peel the curtain back, man, and we're just going to let it be known as to kind of what was going on last week, and just kind of where we're at. Are you good with that?
Look, I have talked about my scrotum being cut open. What else do you want to talk about?
I know, right? Yeah. No, you have taken one for the team in many regards in that avenue, but
it was two.
That's right. That's right. You took two for the team. So Kyle, here's the thing. You and I spoke about this yesterday, and I was pretty frank with you the day kind of leading up to the show, and then or the lack of show last week, and then yesterday, and we talked about it. And you go through life, and you've got priorities, and you got things going on, and you just kind of eventually get to a point of burnout sometimes. And it's just that continual feeling like you're in the hamster wheel of just here I am again, and I'm just going through the motions, and here we are. And so listeners, we appreciate everybody that's hung on with us through these 83 episodes. But I'll be honest, Kyle, like last week I sat down, and usually on Saturdays or Sundays I'll sit down and I'll put together our little rundown, if you will, of the show and kind of what we're going to talk about, and send that out to you. And I was working through that last week, and we even had a guest lined up for last week. It was going to be Travis Rayer of BamaOnline.com. was going to come on, preview Bama and Ole Miss. Work through what that was going to look like, man. And then just kind of I started working through the rundown, and I was just like, man, like you ever have those moments where you're just like, man, my heart's just not, like, I'm just not in this. Like, my mind is not in it. My heart's not in it. I'm just not feeling this. And I sat there for about 10 minutes, just like, I hate to cancel the show. Again, we've done this thing for 82 episodes at that point in time in a row. We had a good thing going. Again, we got the hundreds of thousands of millions of listeners that we don't disappoint. But I just wasn't feeling it. And so I messaged you and was just like, hey, man, it's just not going to happen this week, and mentioned kind of having a hard time with that of coming up like what to talk about. Like we do this every single week. The last thing I want to do is sit here is like basically just bring up the same topics that we've done, a year in advance. And so that's where we are. And again, for everybody that's kind of stuck with us and everybody that is checking out the show tonight and is checking us out in the live stream and downloading the podcast, we appreciate your grace for last week. And just to be frank, that may happen again. And we're still trying to figure out what this is going to continue to look like. But burnout and apathy, man, can get you.
Yeah. Well,
it can catch you up quick.
It gets everybody. I mean, eventually, like, and we don't. This sounds bad. We don't get paid for this. You know what I mean?
Right.
This is an hour out of our Sunday nights, and quite frankly, it's more than that when we get the rundowns and there's show prep and I know we make the jokes about like we don't prep anything, but I do. I personally prep for the shows because I can't stand not to.
Sure.
Being a teacher, I'm used to having a plan. I'm used to knowing where I'm going, and so not having one gives me a little bit of anxiety. I'll be honest. So if we're gonna pull the curtain back, let's pull the curtain back. I didn't get a rundown tonight.
You did not.
The text message said something about. See if I can find it just really quick. I mean, why not? If we're going to do this, let's do it.
This is the Wizard of Oz being exposed here.
Exactly.
While you're looking for that, I'm going to throw up this comment by TJ. He says, your dad's working, taking care of kids, family things happening. Podcasting is fun, but we all need a break. Amen. And it is fun. And Kyle, you and I are best friends. We've known each other over half of our lives. So this is fun to sit here and talk sport.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we do. I can't find the text, but whatever. It was basically like, hey, no rundown. We're just going to see how this thing goes with nothing.
Yeah.
And so what y'all are going to hear tonight is basically me talking to my best friend and my best friend talking to me. And hopefully it's enjoyable. Hopefully it's fun for y'all. I don't know. I look forward to it just because, the guy to ever there. Yeah. That's my guy. He's been my guy since I think I was in 4th grade.
Yeah.
So here we go.
Here we go, indeed. But it got me to thinking about, and we've been talking about this with our church small group as well. It's just like that burnout and that I was to a point last week with this show where I was completely apathetic. Like I was just like, I just don't really care. Like I know I've mentioned to you, like I was like, do I even want to continue to do this? Do we want to continue to do this? Yeah. And I think we do, and I think we will. But I think you just go through those points in times in your life where it's just like, man, like. I just need a break, or we just need something to change here. And the one thing that I don't want this show to be, or to continue to be, is like, okay, we're just rehashing the same thing over and over. And here, we were kind of becoming that where we were just having a guest to talk about college football. Mm-hmm. And then we would just throw in the obligatory dad topics, because it's dads watching sports. Right. And I was starting to get to the point where I was like, I don't know that I'm kind of running out of dad topics. And I know there's things going on in our lives and there's topics that we have with our kids. Like our son slept through the night for the first time in like 3 months of their night. And so we took him to donuts and it was great. And then we were like, oh, you can do this again. And of course he didn't do it again. Yeah. But like we can talk through those things, but it's just like when it's almost like a job, when this is supposed to be fun for us. I definitely got to that point. And, again, we'll figure out kind of what it looks like moving forward. But that's kind of where we are.
And I'll let everybody in on what I told you. We were at my son's birthday party Saturday, and I just looked at you and said, "Look, I'm not doing this without you, but as long as you want to do it, I'm here." I enjoy it. There was a time when I was in Tennessee and you were in Washington. We didn't talk just real often. I can't say we never talked, but But it wasn't near as often as it has been. But having this every Sunday night, at least I get to see your beautiful face on the computer screen and hear the voice and cut up like we do.
Yep, without a doubt.
So I enjoy it. But if it's not a passion anymore, if it's not something that brings you joy and fulfills part of your that creative. Because I know you, and I know you have that desire to be creative in some way. If it's not fulfilling that, then what good is it? You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah. Well, I think long story short is, I think we've got an opportunity here to kind of recreate ourselves just a little bit. And I don't know what that looks like. That might be the fact that, Kyle, you're just going to have to be anxious every week because I'm not giving you a rundown and we're just going to sit on here and have conversations as opposed to going through points. Yes. It may look like some weeks we don't do the obligatory dad comments or topics just because we feel like we have to because of the title of our show, and that like if there's just nothing to talk about, then we just skip it and it's fine and it's okay. And maybe it's a half-hour show that week instead of a full. We'll figure all that out. But it also kind of brought me around to like why we do this. Like why did we start doing this podcast and why will we continue to do it? And I think you just talked about like, and TJ mentioned, like it's enjoy, like as long as you're enjoying it, as long as you're having a good time with it. And I think that we do that. And I hope that, again, the hundreds of thousands of millions of listeners that check us out each and every week, I hope you guys are enjoying it. And I'm sure you tell us if you didn't, but why do we do it? Because we love to talk sports and we're dads and we've got these young kids and we're going through something, a period of our life, a season of our life. It's all the same. And so why not talk about, my kid's not sleeping through the night and it sucks. Like I wake up every night like 2:30 and I'm up for like half an hour to an hour and it sucks. Like what is going on here? And you can be like, I've gone through that as well. So I'm glad to be on this journey with you, sir, and I think that we'll continue to do this. But I just wanted to peel back the curtain just a little bit here for the listeners. Again, apologize for us not having a show kind of out of the blue last week, but that's just kind of what was going on. I was just frankly just didn't want to do it. Let's just be honest. So that's kind of where we were.
And I was shocked when you said, you told me yesterday, like, let's do it. I think you texted earlier today, let's run it back at 8:30 tonight. And I'm like, okay, I did not expect to be on camera tonight. But here I am, here you are. And we're going to have a good time talking about whatever it is you want to talk about.
Absolutely. Jason Hitchings jumps in and says, I enjoy it. Very, very, we very much appreciate that, Jason. And Jason, we missed you at our group this evening, but we were able to, despite the leader, we're able to have a good evening. So, all right, Kyle. Well, let's take an early break, and when we come back, we'll jump into college. I mean, it's a big day in college football yesterday. It's kind of some contenders and pretenders really kind of separated themselves yesterday, so we got a lot to talk about that. Plus, we got some picks later on in the show. We got a birthday to talk about. Kyle, did you know it's National Boyfriend Day? Where we'll talk about that. How does that relate to this show? You'll find out later on in the program, but we'll be right back on Dad's Watching Sports. Y'all stick with us. Who knows where this show's going? Big news in the Dad's Watching Sports podcasting world. You've heard us mention it on the show already. We are now part of the Off the Ball Podcast Network. We're super excited to be joining the team of great shows, hopefully adding a little dad flavor to the mix. You can check out Off the Ball Podcast and Off the Ball Network on all your social media sites. Just search Off the Ball Network. And while you're there, give them a like and a follow. You won't regret it. Welcome back to Dad's Watching Sports. Michael Draper, Kyle Castles. So, Kyle, a classic example of what had been and may still continue to be somewhat of my apathy with this show is the fact that we are still running that commercial that just came on. So it says, breaking news on Dad's Watching Sports. We're now part of the Off the Ball Network. So I recorded that in January.
Nice.
And here we are, October the 3rd. So we're 10 months of being brand new to the Off the Ball Network.
People may not know that we're part of the Off the Ball Network.
Oh, they know.
And you know what? They should know. They should know. Off the Ball Network is great. We love Off the Ball Network. Thank y'all for everything you do.
We do. Absolutely. Yeah. And the not that they needed necessarily an explanation, but hopefully if the guys of Off the Ball are watching and we're like, oh, that's why they didn't have a show last week. Our apologies and our grace extended hopefully for that. But we're still glad to be a big part of that for sure. Kyle, one last thing I wanted to get into about our previous conversation is, so you can't really see this shirt really, but so this is a shirt that I got from a men's event that I went to last Thursday. Invited you to, but you had baseball going on. But the whole premise of the event, it was at our church, and I won't get preachy here on the podcast, but if you can see the shirt, it says, "Don't go alone." That is kind of the mantra It was a really cool event. Mike Fisher from the Preds used to be the captain of the Nashville Predators, was one of the speakers. They had a really funny comedian, all kind of stuff. But I was thinking about that with this show. Like this is fun for us because we're doing like this is something that we can do with friends and we can get other people to comment in, and we're talking about stuff that we like. And so I think that's kind of where we'll move forward is like, why not continue to do something fun like this where we can talk about fun topics with people that we enjoy discussing with and get some witty comments from time to time moving forward. So why not?
Why not? And you're not going alone. I'm here. I'm not alone because you're here.
That's right.
And we're going to make it fun.
And Kirk is sometimes here.
So. Kirk will be here when he's up for it, when he feels like it, when the moon is full or not full, or I don't know what it is and what it's supposed to be.
That's right. Absolutely. We're just kidding, Matt. We love you. So Kyle, let's talk about things that we love. Speaking of college football, is a big weekend in the land of college football. It was specifically, we'll get into some other matchups and some other teams, but specifically in the SEC, it was kind of like that. It was kind of that contender or pretender type weekend.
Mm-hmm.
You had the early game, Arkansas, who just out of nowhere this year, had beat Texas A&M, jumped up to number 8 in the country. Sam Pittman had those guys believing. They go into Athens, 11 o'clock kickoff. Game day was there. It was like this huge thing, and Georgia just flexed. I mean, absolutely flexed. 37-0. It was over after the first quarter. When they got up 21-0, it was over. So you've got that game. You've got Bama just flexing again, being Bama, Ole Miss.
Hey, get your popcorn ready, though.
Get your popcorn ready for a beatdown is exactly what happened. The Cats knocking off the Gators, which was an unbelievable game. Auburn going into LSU and knocking off LSU. It looks like that's going to put LSU towards the back of the pack in the SEC West this year. So kind of all that stuff going on, and then some other games. Any big takeaways before I get into some specific questions from college football this weekend?
Yeah, I think the thing that you walk away knowing is Alabama and Georgia are the two best teams in the nation, and it's not even close. It sucks that one of those teams is going to have a loss before we get to the college playoffs. Because they're going to play in Atlanta for the SEC title, and one of them's going to win. And quite frankly, at this point, I don't know. I don't know that anyone can score 21 points on that Georgia defense. That includes Alabama. That Georgia defense is just stupid.
Yeah, I think I heard they've given up like 23 points all season, which is
all season
unheard of.
Their 2 SEC wins, and granted, like Arkansas was one of them.
Yeah.
But the other one I think was Vanderbilt. Am I wrong?
Yeah. They won 62-0 or something.
Yeah.
Like that.
So okay, Vanderbilt, but still, their 2 SEC wins. They've won by a combined 99-0.
Mm-hmm.
Now I don't really care who they've played in the SEC. I don't really care who they've played. Period. If you have 2 games where you scored 100 points and the other 2 teams scored 0, that's impressive. That is absolutely impressive. Georgia's defense is out there. They look like, the steel curtain from Pittsburgh in the 70s playing the Tennessee School for the Blind. It is insane how well they're playing. And it just sets up, right? It sets up the SEC title game, the one that we all knew was coming, the one we all were expecting. But, man, did anybody think it was going to be this close between these two?
Yeah. Yeah. And what will be really interesting to see is, I completely agree with everything you just said. So they're probably going to finish 1-2 to finish the year, go into the SEC championship game. Even let's say Bama wins, so the 1 beats the 2.
Mm-hmm.
If it's a close game, I think there's a clear argument that could be said for that they still remain 1-2 going into the playoff. Like it's not that Georgia gets bumped down just because they have 1 loss. It's
right.
like,
well, who's not going to have 1 loss at this point? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like you have Iowa, Penn State. They're going to have to play before it's all said and done. And you got Michigan State, right? I think that's our 3 Big Ten teams.
Michigan.
Okay, so there's 4, but Michigan State will play. Penn State and Iowa. That's a rivalry going way back. Vance McCullough, where you
That's
at,
right.
buddy? So you got Penn State, Iowa. You got Michigan State. There's going to be just some cannibalism there in the Big Ten because there always is. Maybe Oklahoma finishes it out, but Oklahoma has not looked solid to me all year. Cincinnati, we didn't even mention Cincinnati and Notre Dame in that game, but we found another pretender.
Yep.
But the Pac-12, that Oregon lost. They got beat by Stanford. You didn't mention that one, but that's a big deal. The fact that you're seeing all these teams lose, maybe there's 3 undefeated teams at the end with, you said Alabama, Iowa. I think Iowa can beat Penn State. I could be wrong. And Cincinnati. Let's say those are my 3 undefeateds. Who do you want to put in? Do you want to take a 1-loss Oklahoma or a 1-loss Oregon or a 1-loss Georgia, who maybe gives up less than 100 points all year?
Yeah.
I mean, they've played 5 games. And
if their only loss is to Bama, and if it's a close game, my argument is not only would you take Georgia, but Georgia would stay at number 2. It would be Bama 1, Georgia 2, whoever.
It's a 23-20, last second field goal game.
Yeah.
Like, come on. I got to see that again. Run it back.
Yep, absolutely. All right, so a couple of questions about coming off this weekend. Number one, is there ever going to be an former assistant of Nick Saban that beats him? Will it ever happen? TJ, is your boy Jimbo is Jimbo's got to be the one that does it, right?
I mean, I feel like if it's going to happen, right? Like Jimbo's the guy,
right? Or I guess you could think maybe Kiffin. I mean, if he hangs around at Ole Miss,
here's the thing. I don't think Kiffin's going to hang around. That USC job's out there, and he'd rather be in LA than Oxford, Mississippi.
But does his ego allow him to go back there? The way the things ended.
You think USC couldn't pay more than Ole Miss?
Oh, I know they could. But does his ego allow him to go back to being left on the tarmac and then coming back and saying, well, no, I guess maybe
I understand.
Yeah. But so to answer your question or answer my question, by the time he retires, which could be at this point in 10 years, will a former assistant beat Nick Saban?
I'm going to say yes, just because I feel like,
Law of averages.
It says that yes, it has to at some point, right?
I'm saying no. I am saying no, and I think it's just because of the fact that I think as trivial as it may sound, I think he does kind of, to use a kind of a risque term, I think he kind of gets off on it, man. I think he wants to beat those assistants, and so he ups his game just as much as they do heading into those games. I'm gonna say no. Second question for you: Michigan undefeated, probably going to be the top 10, or they may already be. I know the rankings already have come out. Is Michigan legit? Is this finally the year that they break through and win the Big Ten?
Is Michigan legit? Yeah, like they're a good football team. Do I think and understand? I have not watched a lot of Michigan games, but what I will tell you is what I've seen, I don't think they're a better team than Penn State, and I definitely don't think they're a better team than Iowa. I think that Iowa team's kind of special.
So do I.
Do I think that this Michigan team is good enough to beat Ohio State this year? Yeah, I think they're good enough to get that monkey off of Harbaugh's back.
Yeah,
and if he can beat Ohio State this year, he'll buy himself another year
for sure. Yeah.
If I am a Michigan fan, though, I don't know that I want him to beat Ohio State and get another year. Luke Fickell there at Cincinnati. I know he's an Ohio State guy, and maybe Michigan fans don't want him, but he's there at Cincinnati. He's going to probably get Cincinnati at least in the top 4 or 5 or 6, assuming they win it out. They went out. Like maybe they never get put in the Final Four. I don't know, but we'll see. He's going to have them there, maybe even win a New Year's Six Bowl or whatever we call them. if you get rid of Harbaugh and you bring Fickle in, I think Fickle's the guy. I really think he's that coach that comes in. He's young enough; he can stay for 20 years, build you into a dynasty. I think he's that guy. I really do.
So, long way of saying they're legit, but they're not
They're not a national title
national
contender.
Gotcha.
I don't think they're Big Ten title contenders. But are they a good team? Yeah, they're a good team. They'll win 9-10 games, and Harbaugh's lived to see another day.
Yeah, I'll agree with you there. All right, last couple of ones here. The Pac-12. You mentioned Oregon losing to Stanford. I mean, the Pac-12's done, right? There's no shot for them to get back in the playoff. I mean, I know a lot of teams have losses, but this is probably going to be a situation where somebody doesn't run the table and only have one loss in that conference. I think I mentioned maybe Washington being good at the beginning of the season. They've just completely crapped the bed. Oregon State, I believe, leads the North for the Pac-12. So Pac-12's, in my opinion, they're done. They have no shot at the playoff. What say you?
If Oregon can win out, you need an Oklahoma loss, maybe 2.
Yeah,
I don't think that's out of. I don't think that's an impossibility. Like, I think Oklahoma State's good enough to beat Oklahoma this year, and you never know. You never know because Oklahoma just finds a way to lose to a team they shouldn't lose to. Like Iowa State may jump up and beat them or somebody. I don't know. But I think there is a point at which maybe Texas. I mean, Texas is 4-1. Their one loss being to Arkansas, who's not a bad football team. I understand what Georgia did to them, but Arkansas is not a bad football team. And so with maybe Texas, but if they can get a 2-loss Oklahoma, they can get the cannibalism they need in the Big Ten. And then you put up, the Oregon versus a 1-loss Big Ten champion. Like, who knows? There may be enough voters on that panel that say, you know what, we're going to put Oregon at the 4 and not the Big Ten champion. I don't know. I don't see it because I think the Big Ten champion is going to have a better resume, but maybe. Maybe there's enough cannibalism in the Big Ten that it's a 2-loss Big Ten champ. Like, we're halfway through this season. There's a lot of things that can happen. So I'm not going to write them off yet, but they've got to win out. There's no way they're going to get in with 2 losses.
Yeah. Agreed. So you kind of alluded to this in a couple other topics, but I have my opinion. I'm interested to get yours. You talked about there a lot can happen. We're only halfway through the season. We are halfway through the season, but at this moment right now, I personally think the Georgia Bulldogs are the best team in the country. I think their defense, we've already talked about. I think their offense is efficient enough. I mean, my goodness, they beat what you just talked about, a good Arkansas team, 37-0 with their backup quarterback, who, I mean, is a game manager and is a guy's not going to make a whole lot of mistakes, but he's not also making plays downfield and doesn't have necessarily the capabilities JT Daniels has. Mm-hmm. So Kyle, think it's a very narrow margin, but I think right now, I think Georgia is the best team in the country. Alabama 2 or 1B. Who do you think is the best team in the country?
If you asked me before, I mean, anybody you ask that follows college football is Bama or Georgia, Bama or Georgia, Bama or Georgia. I think we all agree there.
Yep.
Before this weekend, I think I would have told you Alabama. Because Georgia hadn't shown the ability to just line up and run the football. They've needed the passing game. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it, but at some point throughout the year, there has to come a point where you just line up and say, we're going to run the football right at you and we're going to move the ball down the field. They did that against Arkansas. That right there can cover – I mean, JT Daniels can be out the rest of the year. I don't know how long he's going to be out. And Kirby Smart said that he was going to be out for a while or something to that effect.
He'll be back for the Kentucky game. I guarantee that. He'll find a way back.
I don't think
if they're both undefeated.
Yes, I don't think Stetson Bennett is a bad football player. I think he manages the game well, and so I don't have a problem with that kid running it the rest of the way. But they've got to be able to run the football. They showed that they can. I mean, that Arkansas team had been very strong against the run, and Zamir White and the rest of that that stable of thoroughbreds they have, they can just turn around and get the ball to. They ran the ball well against Arkansas, and then Stetson Bennett made enough throws to keep Arkansas honest defensively, and they put up 37, and Arkansas put up 0. So there's a big part of me. If it's just based on the eye test, yeah, I'm going to say Georgia. Here's the problem: it's not just based on the eye test, because there's this dude named Nick Saban. I don't know if you've heard of him. He's walking that other sideline right there,
who's that?
and I have learned over the course of a decade or more now, you don't bet against Nick Saban.
You don't.
You just don't. So as long as Nick Saban is walking that sideline over there, I'm going to say Alabama's the best team just because they have that guy. And I know that his process works. Now, okay, I have a question because something's bothering me. We talk about how there's never been a former assistant beat Nick Saban. But wasn't Kirby Smart his defensive coordinator?
He was, but he has not beaten him.
Wasn't Kirby Smart the coach at Georgia when Georgia won an SEC title over Alabama, just to go back and play a national title where Alabama beat Georgia?
They did not play in the SEC championship. Georgia played Auburn that year in the SEC championship, or maybe actually been LSU.
That's
Alabama
was.
Alabama was the 3 or 4 seed.
And they
Alabama didn't even
because they were a one-loss team, and that's what it was. Okay.
Yep.
Now you see why I was confused. I was thinking no, I think.
Yep.
Yep. That's it. You're correct. Okay. Sorry, I just need to be clear. I didn't need clarification because I apparently was not remembering things correctly.
That's all right. That's not the first nor the last. So, Kyle, one last thing I want to get to on college football, and then we'll take a break and get into some other stuff. At the very beginning of the season, as we were getting ready for the season, you and I sat on the show and we talked for, about 10 minutes about the lack of parity in college football and how it had just become this some grouping of Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State, Oklahoma, maybe Georgia. And it was that five-some essentially every year vying for Notre Dame thrown in there, but just, we knew that they weren't a contender every year. And how it was probably going to be the same thing this year.
Right.
And so far, I mean, we've at length talked about Georgia and Alabama are the two best teams, but then you really kind of look past that. And I know Ohio State's still up there and Oklahoma is, but we are seeing some parity this year.
We're seeing different teams, right?
Yeah.
Me and you have both talked about it. Iowa is absolutely legit.
Yeah.
And if I forget who they played, I'm sorry, I've gone completely blank on who they played. Maryland. If you watch that game, that Maryland defense didn't want no part of Iowa.
No.
I mean, you got guys literally. There was a play. I was moving left to right, and the ball ended up on the top sideline on TV. And there was a Maryland defender that came in to make a tackle and literally turned his back. And he's like, I don't really want to hit this dude. I mean, you can watch it. And I watched it. I went, oh, that dude right there got scared. That is there's something about this Iowa team. That's all I'm going to say. But we got Penn State. We got Iowa. We got Michigan State. I mean, Sparty at 5-0, right? Oregon has worked their way back into the conversation. I like Oregon up there. I actually like a West Coast team, an Oregon or an SC. I kind of like the idea of UCLA. I know they've fallen off because that's what they do.
Yep.
Come on, Chip, just hang in there for a season. I like a West Coast team. It just feels good to me. I don't think Oklahoma's going to get through unscathed this year. There's some pretty good teams in the Big 12, and I don't think Oklahoma is just head and shoulders better than them anymore. Now, Lincoln Riley's a heck of a coach. Maybe he can work some magic, but he hadn't when he was head and shoulders better.
Yep.
But I mean, Clemson is not ranked in the top 25. They're done. They are not going to be in the college football playoff. There's not going to be an ACC team unless it's Wake Forest, I guess. But I don't think that.
Yeah, that's quite the stretch.
So, I mean, we're going to have some different players. And maybe not. Maybe we end up, Ohio State runs the table the rest of the way, and they're a one-loss Ohio State team, right? And they're in, and Oklahoma goes undefeated, and we have Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State, and Oklahoma is the Final Four, and we all go like, okay. So it was a strange way to get there, but we got back to, where we've been. But right now, we can look up halfway through and go like, we got some different players, and this feels like a more exciting season, right?
I know, right? Well, that's what it's nice. I mean, if you just look at the AP top 25, so we'll exclude Bama and Georgia. Then you got Iowa at 3, Penn State at 4, Cincinnati at 5. Mm-hmm. We'll skip Oklahoma and Ohio State, and then Oregon at 8, Michigan at 9, BYU at 10, Michigan State 11, Oklahoma State 12, Arkansas 13, Coastal Carolina 15, Kentucky 16. So I mean, these teams, Wake Forest 19, Arizona State 22, NC State 23. So we are seeing at least halfway through a season where there's a little bit of parity and there's not just the same old teams. And I think this is what college football needed. I mean, it desperately needed this to happen this year. Mm-hmm. And it looks like it's at the expense of maybe Clemson and maybe Ohio State if they get knocked off again. But it was something we desperately needed. And man, I'm glad to see it.
Yeah, it's great. It's exactly what Ohio State needs. Not what Ohio State needs. It's what college football needed. I love watching it this year more than I have the last few years, because the last few years we all knew, and I think we all still know. Like, it's Alabama and it's Georgia and it's everyone else.
Yeah,
and maybe we're waiting on the SEC title game and we're waiting on maybe the eventual national title game. But I'm not going to say that both of those teams can walk onto any field and say we're going to play, name the other conference champ, and they're going to win one game, right? This isn't basketball. This isn't baseball. This isn't hockey where it's a best of 7. It's one game. And you may say Georgia would win 9 out of 10 times over Oklahoma, but they don't have to win 9 out of 10.
Right.
Or Oklahoma just needs that one that day. You know what I mean? So that's what's so great about college football. You can see, and that's why we love March Madness, right? Like, it's the same thing.
Yep.
Where it's like, it's not a series. There's been times in the NBA or the NHL or baseball or whatever where you go like, this is the best team. And okay, they went 6 games with this other team. That means they lost twice. Doesn't matter about those 2 losses. They won 4 out of 6 and they move on. This is one time. It's one time and it's over. And that is what we want as college football fans. And that's what we're going to get. We're going to get that one. And I guarantee you, the Florida game scares me for Georgia. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
Because Florida's got talent. And I, as a Mississippi State fan, I know Mullen's a good coach. He pulled a Mullen where he lost to a team he shouldn't have lost to in Kentucky.
Easy.
I know you don't want me to say that, but and Stoops pulled a Stoops. Mark Stoops pulled a Stoops and beat a team that he shouldn't have beat. I know you can't stand me right now.
That's the thing, man. Like, Florida is, I don't know. I have a hard time saying they're a better team because they didn't win the game. Now, Florida shot themselves in the foot a lot in that game. I think they had 8 false start penalties.
Yes. Hey, the Commonwealth was rocking.
And the Commonwealth was rocking. Kroger Field was rocking on all ends, without a doubt. But I digress. I'll let you continue your thought, and I'll just go back to the fact that one team beat the other. But that's okay.
No, I understand. But again, it's one of those, if you put that same Kentucky and that same Florida team on the same field 10 times, does Kentucky win 6 or more of them? I don't think so. But they won the one that mattered.
Right.
And so this is what we want. This is what we live for as college football fans. We live for App State walking into the big house and beating Michigan. We live for the upsets. We live for the unlikely heroes. And we're getting some of that this year, and it's a thing of beauty. We're seeing some really good coaches do some really good things. Kirk Ferentz up at Iowa.
Yep.
Help me out, James at Penn State. Franklin, thank you, at Penn State. Obviously, Kirby Smart and Nick Saban doing what they do. Coaching's a thing, and coaching matters. Luke Fickell at Cincinnati. I love that guy. I've talked about him for weeks now. And I don't know why he's staying there. Mark Stoops at Kentucky. Kentucky keeps doing what they're doing. Kentucky's
nobody wants Stoops. Nobody wants him. He's not that good of a coach. You don't want him. Trust me.
Florida State's going to get rid of who's it? Norvell down there right now.
Yeah. That's you're probably right about that, but that's all right. We'll shake his hand and say thank you and good luck. So,
and Kentucky will fade back into college football obscurity.
Yeah, probably. All right. Well, on that note, Kyle, we're going to switch things up and we're going to take a break. When we come back,
we didn't even talk about Mississippi State being Texas A&M. Can we get a Hell State?
We can get a Hell State. I know our boy TJ did drop that little tidbit of knowledge at the very beginning of the show. But yes, Mississippi State going into Kyle Field and knocking off the Aggies was a good win for them.
The air raid's coming in. The Pirate walking the sidelines. I'm talking about good coaching. The Pirate's doing what he does.
Talking about watching whatever that show. What was
it? Hey, real quick, there's a girl in our comments now. Can we block her or something? Is that?
Okay. Because no one cares about State, the team from Mississippi that actually won a game this weekend.
Not the one that
go get your popcorn ready, Caitlin. Go get your popcorn ready. All right, we're going to a break. We'll be right back. Coming up next week on Dad's Watching Sports, we are joined by a very special guest to preview the App State, Louisiana football game coming up next weekend. We've got Doug Gillen, athletics director at App State, also dad. He's going to talk football, dad life, anything and everything in between. We'll see you next week with an AD from App State on Dad's Watching Sports. See you then. All right, Kyle, we're back here, and I think we talked about this a couple of weeks ago about. I'm getting some bad feedback. Can you hear me repeating myself, Kyle?
No, you sound beautiful to me.
Okay, well, I mean, I know I always sound good, but I'm hearing myself twice, which I like to hear myself, but I don't want to hear myself as an echo because it confuses me and thinks I'm talking to myself. But excited about having Doug Gillen on next week from App State. We tried to guilt the AD at Louisiana on as well, who will not be named, and he declined our offer. But we'll have Mr. Gillen on next week. We're excited about that to talk dad life, AD life, football, anything and everything in between, which will be good. Kyle, before we get into our picks at the end of the show, you alluded to it earlier. We had a big birthday over the weekend. Your son Jack had his 5th birthday party. It was a very exciting time. The Drapers came out, had a good time. The rain came pouring down, but it did not wash out the fun at the birthday party.
No, we had a little bit of rain, but it wasn't the storm that we all thought we were going to get. Yeah, you texted me. I don't know. The party started at 3, or excuse me, at 2, and you probably texted me around 11. It was 3 to 5. You're right. I was thinking it ended at 4, but it was 3 to 5. Thank you. And you probably texted me around 11. It was like, hey, have you looked at the weather? Do y'all have a rain plan? And my response to you was, Lauren's not hearing it. She says it's not going to rain, so it's not going to rain. And I thought that was a bad plan. I'm sure you were thinking that was a bad plan.
We were sitting there like, well, I mean, I get it from a parent's standpoint. Like, no, I'm going to will this into existence. But, there are some things we can and cannot control. But to your wife's credit, it rained, but it didn't storm. And
it didn't storm. We pulled it off. There was a bounce house, and that bounce house is hanging on a tractor right now, drying. Kids went and hung out with some donkeys. We had good stuff. It was a Bluey party. So for those of you that don't know anything about Bluey, get on the Disney Plus, and they're like 20-minute episodes, and they're not bad. I saw something, I think, online that was talking about if you want to learn how to parent your kid, watch Daniel Tiger, and if you want to learn how to play with your kid, watch Bluey.
Okay. Well, we're a Daniel Tiger family, but we've yet to break into the Bluey world, but maybe this birthday party will get us there. But it was a good time had by all for sure. So Kyle, one quick question that has come up here recently in our household. I wanted to see what your pulse is. I think I know what it is based off of years experience, but when
first off, you don't know me.
I don't know you like that. when you start getting, we get into the month of October again. We talked about the fall's in the air, the leaves are turning, football's on. It's you can get a fire pit going. It's all that great stuff. Well, the eventual conversation for those of us that have children eventually goes to Halloween, and kind of specifically what costume is going to be worn for Halloween. So I guess I got a 2-part question here for you. Number one, are you guys a family costume type family where everybody you pick a theme or a group or something like that, then everybody does that? And then secondly, if you're at will to say, have the Castles family, have you guys picked out your family themed Halloween costume for this year?
So the answer to the first question is yes.
Very nice.
And this year is special. So 2 or 3, probably 2 years ago. So every Halloween, like actual Halloween night, we go to Lauren's grandmother. She lives in a neighborhood that's got like houses back to back to back. So you can hit a lot of houses really quick and get candy and whatever. I think it was 2 years ago was the first year we told everyone what the kids were dressing up as. And not just my family, but aunts and uncles and cousins and grandmother and, everybody is dressing up to be a part of Halloween with the kids. So
nice.
This year, the theme of Halloween over there is going to be Pokemon. Because we are into some Pokemon in my house. I'm actually playing Pokemon Go on my phone because the kids like to see what Pokemon I can catch. But we also, usually what we do is we take that theme and it's also our theme for Trunk or Treat at church. But not this year because now we have a baby girl who will be 2 in December. And she loves her some Frozen, and she wants to be Elsa. So she will be Elsa, and Mama will be Anna, and then one of the boys will be Kristoff.
Please tell me you're the donkey.
One of the boys will be Kristoff. One of the boys will be Olaf, and I will be the reindeer Sven.
Sven, yes,
that is.
I said donkey. I meant reindeer. But now I will. I see my sister is blowing up our topic, or not our topics, our comments or whatever, and she asked which one am I dressing up as. I'm assuming that is the question about the Pokemon. I don't know which one I'm going to dress up as because I'm a very large man and it's hard to find any kind of costume or whatever. Maybe I can just pull off Snorlax, who is just this like giant fat Pokemon that it kind of looks something like a fat cat. I don't know. Nice.
All I know is on Pokemon Go when he attacks, he attacks by like sticking his belly out. So like I can do that.
That is hilarious, and I think Kyle's selection of his character has been chosen. It is chosen for you, not by you. So that is hilarious. We are a family Halloween costume deal as well. We've been kind of going back and forth. I don't know if I mentioned this to you. I have been trying for like at least a month now to convince my wife for us to go as the crew from Ted Lasso. So having Hayden be Ted Lasso, Emma be the owner, and then me being Roy Kent and Suzanne being Keeley, that has been nixed very, very quickly by Mrs. Draper. So we are going as the Mario characters. So the boys will be Mario and Luigi. Emma's going to be the princess. And Suzanne is going to be
Bowser. It'll be Bowser.
She is going to be Bowser.
No, seriously.
She is going to be Bowser, which is awesome. So that's her character of choice in Mario Kart. And so she is staying true to that and doing Bowser. All right, Kyle.
Are you going to grow the mustache? Like I see it's starting to already be.
Oh, for sure. Yep.
Very nice.
There will be a stash for without a doubt. All right, Cal. Before we get into our picks, I mentioned to you I mentioned this to you at the beginning of the show. Kyle, did you know that it is National Boyfriend Day?
Yeah, I have no clue where you're going with this, so just go ahead.
But so I take it you were not aware.
I'm not aware, but I'm really like I have been curious the whole show. Where are you going with this?
Well, we both have daughters. You
have
older
daughters.
to yours. It will be 2. Mine is 5. And at some point in time, way, way, way down the road, we're talking like 15, 20 years down the road, they will introduce a boyfriend to the family.
That is true.
And so Kyle, let's paint the picture here.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Castles, my name is Johnny. I am your beloved daughter's first boyfriend. How does that, what does that look like? Just paint us a picture of kind of that setting, your temperament, any accessories that you might bring to that conversation. Let us know what you anticipate that conversation looking like.
So I don't know. I feel like the answer that everyone gives to be funny is, I'll have my guns out cleaning my guns, or, I won't. I don't know. Like I don't see myself as, trying to intimidate him in any way. There are going to be questions that are asked, obviously. And not, what are your intentions with my daughter? Because let's be honest, he's not going to tell me his true intentions. I know them because I one time was a 15-year-old myself.
That's right. Yeah.
But I'm going to want to get to know him. I'm going to want to, figure out if I like him. But I don't see a reason. I mean, at the end of the day, like, I am between 6'3" and 6'4", and I'm well over 300 pounds. Like, I'm intimidating enough without, when you first started the question, my mind went, and I don't even know if you've seen this, and it's not a good Christian movie, so I probably shouldn't even bring it up. But have you seen Bad Boys 2?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you remember the scene where Martin Lawrence's daughter has her first date, and Reggie shows up at the door, and Will Smith is playing this like just out of jail character. Yeah. And like, sure, maybe I'll have you over and you can pretend like you're just out of jail. And
it's
chitty bang bang, right?
I'm hoping that's a hard sell, but maybe not.
But no, like, I don't see that happening. Like, I feel like my presence is intimidating enough.
Mm-hmm.
At least that's what the kids I teach tell me. And she's got 2 older brothers.
It's true.
See, you struggle because your daughter is the oldest. She doesn't have the older brothers. So what do you think? Are you going to try to intimidate and scare? Or are you going
to? I think my plan is just going to be like the most annoying person possible, so that way the boy's like, I never want to be around that family ever again. I'm just leaving and never going to talk to her again. Yeah. No, I mean, I could foresee definitely like not being intimidating, but definitely like sitting down, having long, awkward silence, staring at each other, just not really saying a whole lot, and maybe asking a question or two, just kind of like, oh, so what are you guys doing tonight? And then let him talk, and then maybe he says, "Oh, we're just going to a movie," and then just kind of sit there and just make it awkward.
Yeah,
well, awkward, a little intimidating.
Did you ever have an awkward meeting like that with a dad growing up? 'Cause I feel like, and hopefully I'm not getting too personal, but I feel like I would have heard if something like that happened. I feel like all the parents loved you.
I mean, what's not to love, Kyle? What's not to love?
That's true.
No, I don't know that I did, to be honest with you. But I'm sure they probably just heard that I was a preacher's son and were like, "Oh, this is fantastic."
Yes,
our daughter's chosen wisely, and then I severely disappointed them. So
the preacher's son is the one that corrupted me. So
that's true. It's a true statement. All right, Kyle, let's finish up the show here with some picks. Right. So we are tied at 14-7 overall in our picks. We went 5-0 last week, which is a impressive feat by both of us.
Yep.
I'm so very excited about that. So we'll start. I'll give my pick here first. We'll start with the Red River rivalry, Texas and Oklahoma. I'm going in what might be considered a slight upset, Kyle. I'm going with the Longhorns taking the upset of Oklahoma. I feel like Oklahoma's quarterback situation is shaky. I feel like Texas's defense is solid. Their offense has been able to put up some numbers. They're coming off a win over TCU, which is not the TCU of 7 or 8 years ago, but it's still a tough place to play there in Fort Worth. So I'm going with the Longhorns to take down Oklahoma. Oklahoma's had too many near escapes. They should have lost to West Virginia. They pulled it out. They were on the ropes in Manhattan and the Little Apple, Manhattan, and against Kansas State, and found a way to pull it off. I think this is the weekend they finally get taken down.
Yeah, I don't think that's a bad pick. I'm going to go Oklahoma there. I don't feel comfortable picking against Lincoln Riley. Really, I don't feel comfortable picking Texas in a big game. Just that's not what Texas does right now. Sark could shock me, and quite frankly, I kind of hope he does. I'd like to see Texas, Oklahoma kind of get back to national prominence before they make the jump to SEC, and then we can show everybody like, hey, you're just still not that good. But yeah, I'm gonna go Oklahoma for right now.
We talked about Michigan earlier in the program, undefeated. This could be a sneaky trap game here. They go to Nebraska this weekend, and Nebraska, I know everybody saw kind of what happened to them earlier on in the season, but they've been playing really well. They just smacked around Northwestern. It was like 62-7 or something like that. Nebraska is a much better team than people probably give them credit for. It's in Lincoln. They have that. I mean, their fans are diehard. It's gonna be a sellout. It'll be a huge game for there. Can Scott Frost in Nebraska get over the hump and knock off Michigan in this game?
And this feels like the type of game that I've gone blank on his name. Who's coaching Michigan?
Harbaugh.
There you go, Jim Harbaugh. This is the type of game that I'm gonna start everything over. This is the type of game that a Jim Harbaugh-led Michigan team finds a way to lose, right? Like this is one of those. Yeah, it'll be something stupid. It'll be a punt that the punter drops, right? He drops the snap and can't get a punt off, and it's blocked, and Nebraska scores a touchdown off of it late to seal it by a 2-point game or whatever. But I don't feel like that's that Michigan team. I think Michigan is starting to put things together, and I don't think they lose a game like that. So but look, Adrian Martinez, quarterback at Nebraska, is like top 10 in the nation in passing yards. There's your stat.
Somebody did their prep.
How would I know? Like, you didn't send me anything. I just happened to look at it because I was looking at where Will Rogers, the Mississippi State quarterback, was as far as nationwide passing yardage. So all that being said, I'd like to see Nebraska win just because it's college football and we all love upsets, but I think Michigan pulls this one out. Close.
Yeah. I think Michigan does too. I think I agree with everything you just said. I think this is in years, previous years, this is one of those games where like, oh yeah, this is definitely going to happen. And I think Scott Frost is eventually going to get. I mean, I don't know that Nebraska is ever going to come back to what they were, but I think he's the guy that gets that thing turned around eventually. But it's not going to happen this week.
Yeah, but if they can get back to winning 8-9 games a year, like I think that's where Nebraska lives.
Yeah,
I think.
Yep. All right. In the game of the two letdowns from this past weekend, Arkansas goes to Oxford to play Ole Miss. Who rebounds? I'll go first. I think Ole Miss wins this game. I think that Arkansas, while they are probably better than they showed against Georgia, I think that the emotional letdown from that, I think, is probably going to be too big. And you could say Ole Miss is going to have that as well. But I think being at home, I think I'll take Ole Miss to win that game. Who you got, the Hogs or the Rebels?
Yeah, to me, this game isn't about who's the better team. This game is about who can get up after the beating that both these teams took and refocus and say, okay, here we go. To me, that comes down to coaching. That comes down to who's the head man and the vision that he can put together and sell to his players this week. To me, the guy that has the ability to do that is not Lane Kiffin; it's Sam Pittman.
Mm-hmm. Good call.
And so for me, I'm going Arkansas again. I think it's going to be close, but I think Arkansas runs the ball, controls it, and keeps Ole Miss's keeps Matt Corral and that offense off the field just long enough to sneak one out.
Last game that we'll highlight here, and then we've got our we're going to go into the World Series picks as the playoffs start this week in Major League Baseball. We talked about it already. It's the rivalry, the bread and the butter. Penn State versus Iowa. The Nittany Lions going to Kinnick Stadium to play the Hawkeyes. I'll let you pick first.
Because we all know where you're – well, maybe not everyone knows, but I think I know where you're going. And I think everybody knows where I'm going. If you've been listening to the show and as long as you're not just now jumping in, you know where I'm going. I really think this Iowa team is really, really good. I think they beat any other team in the Big Ten this year, and I'm going Iowa. Give me the Hawkeyes.
I'll give you the Hawkeyes as well. I think the Hawkeyes are well on their way, which I'm very excited about. All right, Kyle. As of today, we had 4 games that were really, pivotal for the baseball playoffs, MLB playoffs. So the wild card games and the rest of the playoffs are set. You've got in the American League, the wild card game will be the Yankees and the Red Sox. The wild card game in the National League is the Cardinals and the Dodgers. And then you got the division series. It'll be Tampa Bay versus the winner of the AL series, and the Chicago White Sox and the Houston Astros. And then over in the National League, it's the Braves and the Brewers, and then the Giants against the winner of the Dodgers and Cardinals. Who you got in the World Series, man? Who you thinking is going to make the Fall Classic?
I hadn't even thought baseball in a while. As a Cubs fan, I was waiting on football season. So I know Kershaw is out for the playoffs for the Dodgers. Now they have pitching. I mean, Walker Buehler is phenomenal. I don't think they're going to miss. I don't think they'll miss Kersh as much as they would have previously, because he's not Kersh from 5-10 years ago. But they have not been able to overcome that giant obstacle. I word it that way because that's a good pun this year. But outside of those 2 teams in the NL, like, I don't see the Braves doing anything. The Brewers aren't going to do anything. Brewers are lucky that the Cardinals didn't get hot until this last month of the season.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Giants are going to. The Giants are going to struggle with either the Cardinals or the Dodgers. Whoever comes out of the wild card, I think the Dodgers do, and Dodgers won it last year. It's hard to repeat. I can't pick against them. My wife's gonna get mad at me, but she can get mad at me. It's just hard to repeat. So I'll go with the Giants coming out of the NL. In the AL, the Rays have been the best team in the AL basically all year.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they, I feel bad because I'm kind of going chalk here and picking the 1 seed on both sides, but they're 1 seed for a reason. I mean, they've been the best teams all year. And until it happens, it's hard to pick against them. So I'm going to go Giants, Rays, and Rays winning the World Series just because they're not going to be let another California team keep them from winning that World Series.
So going chalk, which I understand and I appreciate. I am not going to go chalk just for the sake of it. I'm going to say you mentioned the Brewers and how they were not going to. They just got lucky that the Cardinals didn't get hot at the right time. I'm going Brew Crew to not only win the divisional series, but I think they'll take out whoever comes out of that Dodgers Giants series. And I don't know, man. For some reason, I just think that the Astros are going to make a run here and end up going to the World Series as well. And everybody will hate it, and they'll just be so mad about it. And then I think the Astros win the World Series. And I honestly just want to see it happen just because I want to see everybody so upset and pissed off at them and get so mad about it. But I'm taking Astros versus Brewers, with Astros taking the World Series crown for no other reason than sports here. About it. So, all right, Kyle, it's been a good show, man. Look at that. No prep, and here we are, an hour and 3 minutes in. It's good. It's good stuff.
Yeah, it is. We had a good time. Good time with that ball.
Absolutely. All right, guys, we will see you next week. Remember, we got the App State AD going to join us on the show. That and much more next week on Dad's Watching Sports. Y'all take care. We will see you soon. Have a good one.